and welcome to the most excellent 80s movies podcast. It's the podcast where a filmmaker and a comedian sleep in a pod for 57 years and then return to the 80s movies we love or love to hate with modern eyes to see how they hold up. And this is Aliens, a movie selection from 1986.
Just tell me one thing, Burke. You're going out there to destroy them, right? Not to study, not to bring back, but to wipe them out.
That's the plan.
All right, people, on the ready line. Are you me? Yeah! Are you me? Yeah! Are you? Get on the ready line, Marine! Get something to die! Get on the ready line!
Get your light up here.
Keep back, don't scare.
Movement! Talk to me, Hudson!
I got signals. I got readings in front and behind.
There's nothing back here.
Look, I'm telling you, there's something moving and it ain't us.
Get them out of there!
They cut the power. How could they cut the power, man? They're animals. There's movement all over the place. 5 meters, man. 4.
Aliens. This time, it's war.
Last time, it wasn't quite war yet, but this time,
Oh, they're so angry.
so much war. Okay, we're talking about aliens, but before we do, my name is Christy Lenz. I am an improviser and comedian and director of National Comedy Theater NCT Improv Comedy Club in Mesa, Arizona. And with me, as always, is...
Hi, Nathan Blackwell, writer, director, filmmaker for hire.
Yes, that's right. And hire away. So this is our first episode back in a little bit. We're kicking off a new season in a new year. Very exciting.
Yeah, it's great to be back.
Yeah, we thought we'd
I hope I
start with a
remember how to
bang.
do this.
Yeah, I hope so too. Definitely hoping that everything works correctly and goes according to
So what you
plan.
been up to during the break?
We got a bunch of new players, new performers, new comedians here at National Comedy Theater, and we're doing a bunch of new Thursday shows. We have the Main Street Comedy Show on Thursday nights, which is a show where we bring in storytellers from the different businesses and the cool people who do stuff in downtown Mesa and sort of adjacent with it. You were our guest on one of those.
I was a prototype.
Yes. And then we also have Set the Scene, which is a stand-up improv hybrid, and a couple of guest features that are happening on Thursday nights as well as Friday and Saturday night, always improv comedy.
Cool.
So that's what I've been up to. What about you?
Well, I just directed some commercials for Blimpie. Those are still in the post-production process. But that was
Awesome.
the first big new project of the new year.
Featuring some NCT actors.
Yeah, we plundered your cast.
That's what they're there for.
Yeah, that was great. They did a great job. So we did 7 spots, and we're releasing. They're releasing 2 a month. So we're getting the first 2 all ready. They should be delivered by the end of the week. So that should go well.
Awesome.
And then, so we're doing those 48-hour movies. The challenges.
It's like a challenge. Sure.
Yeah, so we're doing one on Saturday. And
Okay, cool.
yeah, I haven't.
So by the time this comes out, that will be out. Will we be able to link to it?
Yeah. You can go to Squishy Studios. It'll be on our YouTube. It'll be on our webpage. But we don't know what we're gonna make. It's been since we haven't done one of these since 2014.
Oh wow.
We've done a bunch in the past, but there was we the last one we did was called Logan Must Make Star Wars,
which I love.
and then we kind of felt like, okay, we're done with that. It's like we're gonna move on to other things.
Because you won stuff, right?
Well, yeah, we did very well. We got first place, and yeah, at that point that was like our fourth or fifth of these 48-hour challenges. And then we're just like, okay, so we're kind of done with those. We don't have anything else to prove to ourselves or to other people or whatever. But I've kind of adopted a new philosophy in terms of those is just to keep making stuff. Like, you can still do your big stuff. It's like right now we're trying to get a feature film, like a micro budget feature film going. But we should keep doing these things just to keep making cool stuff and
stay sharp.
Yeah, stay sharp, and then but to develop it more as just a habit of doing one, even if there isn't like an actual competition, to try to do these 48-hour movies like once a year or whenever, just so we keep making cool stuff. So
yeah, I love it. So we'll definitely put links out there to all the blimpies and the film challenges. Super cool. That's exciting. Okay, so Aliens.
Yes.
What is your my guess would be that this is a favorite.
Well, it's interesting because I've probably only seen this before. I've maybe seen this 1.5 times before revisiting it.
Oh, really? That's it?
Yeah. So I mean, I've seen all the Alien movies, but it's just in terms of timing. Like, I was never like a rated R sci-fi guy, and just that was just by nature of growing up. And that the rated R sci-fi stuff and the horror stuff was verboten. Like, we could get our hands on PG-13 or PG sci-fi, but to get the rated R sci-fi, my mom was anti-gun. We couldn't have G.I. Joe. We could have Transformers, but we really had to sneak around to rent anything that was rated R. And so it was basically contraband. Like, we couldn't get our hands on Aliens or Alien, and so it wasn't until like later in life I was able to kind of see these movies. And so it was just never part of my young youth as a film goer. And it's not that I ever disliked them. It was just like I was just not as much into the kind of like the military sci-fi or kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I and then just revisiting it as just having not seen it. And then there's so many like quotable or like iconic moments that you just know about, like, they're all around us, game over, man, and get away from her, you bitch.
Over.
All these things that are just fresh in my mind. I had forgotten so much of the actual plot.
They mostly come out at night.
Mostly. Yeah, and I was really pleasantly surprised revisiting it.
Good. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've seen this one too often, but I know I've seen it enough for it to have soaked in,
Yeah, absolutely. It's like that one or two times that I'd seen I absorbed it all, and I totally remembered all the characters,
So that's what I was like most reminded of when watching it again. Is like, oh my god, this movie is so long. There's a lot of shit that happens in between, like her waking up and the chest jumpy outies and the game over, and the big suit.
Yeah,
at the
a
end.
lot of twists and turns.
There's so many, and a lot of like just business to attend to that you forget about all of the like politics, I guess, or the the machinations of what's happening surrounding them just getting attacked and eaten up by aliens.
And then even so, it's like 2 hours and 17 minutes, but I felt like it was still moving at a really nice clip. Like there was just so much twists and turns. Like there were like stuff that I had totally forgotten about. It's like, oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
So spoilers. Like,
boy, Paul Reiser's a real dick.
Yeah. Like I knew that he was going to be a dick. I just forgot the exact moments and when things turned in twists. Like, when Sigourney Weaver and Newt were trapped and locked in the room and the facehuggers were let loose. Like, I totally forgotten about that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's perfect, because it had just followed the scene where they just make a big plan. Mm-hmm. Great, we're just going to get a few hours of sleep before the big plan. So we're all thinking about the big plan of what they're going to do. And then just during like this quiet moment where Sigourney Weaver is kind of mothering Newt, that horror intervenes.
Yeah.
So.
And this is that thing of where, like, who can't you trust? Mm-hmm. It's the squirrely little guy who can't handle a gun, who looks like he just walked out of a Land's End catalog, who's like who's pulling the strings on everybody. And like, lo and behold, we all work for him.
Yeah, it's interesting. So Paul Reiser is the corporate scumbag, but they do a really interesting thing at the beginning. That so Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, let's just hop all the way back to the beginning.
So Sigourney Weaver wakes up, and so after the first one, she was the sole survivor.
Yep.
Alien by Ridley Scott was a horror film, and Aliens 7 years later with James Cameron is an action movie.
Right.
And so she's been in cryosleep in her ship
for 57 years.
Yeah, so a lot
Gross.
of stuff.
So she's
fashion is definitely
she's
changed.
Be real groggy.
Yeah,
she's got like those little sand kernels in her eyes, just the
Yeah.
size of small boulders.
yeah. The cat's okay
Yeah, cat's fine. But they are mad at her
because she's got no proof that
anything happened.
that this giant freighter blew up.
And as far as they're concerned,
But they're-
she just went rogue lone gunman and like blew up their expensive ship. And she's like, sure, maybe it's that, or maybe it's the monsters that
Yeah.
were eating everybody.
Yeah, James Cameron is specifically trying to get us furious with these corporate dickbags.
Yeah, the company.
Yeah, and they do a really interesting thing is that they make Paul Reiser the good guy in the room. Everyone else is a dickbag, but he's the good guy who's on her side.
Never trust the good guy.
And so
who's on your side.
They do a great way of sort of subverting it, and then throughout the rest of the movie, they turn him into the biggest dickbag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the company, so the military is of course concerned about the cost of the ship that's been lost.
No, the company is. So there's two. So there's the company.
I thought the company was mostly worried about the fact that the aliens slipped through their fingers.
So the company owns the terraforming outfit. They own the terraformer that's now... So in the 57 years that have passed, they've begun to terraform that planet unknowingly that there's aliens there.
Like they just passed each other on the space turnpike.
Exactly. So the corporation is terraforming the planet. All the people, the terraformers, are employees. And so it's their stake.
So then why did the military go?
The military is the government, and there's like, well, we got colonists missing. We're the police, so they're going in. So they're working together, but they're two entities. The military is just being the military. It's like, okay, colonists are in trouble. We're going to oversee this rescue/investigation operation.
Right.
So Paul Reiser.
But the company also wants to get their hands on those xenomorphs so that they can like harvest that technology.
Correct.
And weaponize it.
Paul Reiser has to keep it a secret from the military because they wouldn't be cool about this.
I mean, it seems like
they could be.
A few of them kind of seem like.
And that's the thing. Being a sci-fi
well.
future, my guess is that the corporations probably have a lot more influence over
the military.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, but at first, Ripley, like, she's back in, like, I don't know, Earth, and like she just lives this like crummy little life.
They're in a starbase. They're like on a starbase.
But she just like gets a job on the loading docks because basically she's been discredited.
Yeah, as a pilot.
And then they're like, oh, super fun. We sent a whole bunch of families up to that awesome little spot that you came back from 60 years ago. And like, we just thought we'd check in with them. We haven't done it in a long time, but we just thought we'd just check in, and they're not answering.
Yeah, it's so interesting that they've got to go in to cryosleep for these. It's like, just imagine what they would do to people and to fashion and technology, that people, it's like, oh yeah, so-and-so has taken 5 cryosleeps for 10 years each or 1 year each. And then you get people that you grew up with aging at different levels. Like, you could be 80 and then your friend is still 40 and your kid is whatever. And
because Ripley's in her 80s at this point.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I mean, it's unusual for her to be in 50s, for 57. But I can imagine losing years all the time.
Because she just drifted.
Yeah.
She just drifted and no one could find her. Okay, so... But why weren't they checking on these colonists? Like, the colonists should be checking in every day and just being like, hey, still no aliens, terraforming away.
Well, that's
Talk to
another
you
thing.
tomorrow.
I mean, the distance that they have to travel, who knows how long it takes to get communication out and things like that. It could be just like a month-by-month thing. Maybe, I forget the number, but maybe it's only been like 3 months since they've heard from them.
Okay, so then they're like, we're going to go out there and check on them. Ripley, you should come too.
Because the girl hasn't
believes you.
aged. Like, we have a photo of the girl during the good times, and she's more or less looks the same. I'd say a year
Newt?
tops. Yeah, so I'd say a year tops.
Okay.
But I'd say less than that for sure.
So the thing that really strikes me too about Paul Reiser. So Paul Reiser goes to try and convince Ripley to go with them on this mission, and he's just like so manipulative and like gaslighty and sort of evil in those moments that, he's like, oh yeah, it's so good that you're keeping busy. What loading the loading docks are you? Well, we could just make sure if you went with us on this trip and tried to, make sure that nobody else got chest exploded, that, we could get that all taken care of. Wouldn't you like to be a pilot again? And also, don't you think like you owe it to the people to help them? And he's just...
but he's doing but he's just doing it with niceness. I mean, he's, again, we're slowly transitioning. We kind of think that he's okay compared to the other guys, but he's definitely trying to get something out of her. We just don't know to what extent he'll go.
So then, apparently, the next thing that happens is we're on a spaceship and everybody's getting woken up from their cryo sleep.
Yeah.
And, like, they didn't think to tell anybody who the new people were before they went into cryo sleep because we're getting all the introductions after the fact. But I love the, like, commander guy who wakes up and he's like, I love the Corps. What another beautiful day. Beautiful day in the military. Yeah. Everybody get up. Like, let's do all our fun stuff.
Yeah, we get some. There's not a lot of cases of like sci-fi military in the movies. I think there's a lot of Robert Heinlein and things like that with like Starship Troopers, but I can definitely see the influence of like the sci-fi military. Like, it's like the video game Halo owes so much inspiration from Aliens.
Yeah.
Like just in terms of like how the drop ships look like, or and then how like the Marines look like. It's
and just the concept of like, we're dropping you on this planet, like, yes, try and rescue the colonists, but also like destroy every alien you see. Like, they call it a bug hunt.
Yeah, and they've all read Ripley's report, but they don't
believe it.
Yeah,
which makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it's the same thing with the corporation.
Yeah.
I just have. It is, it's movie manipulation. It's
like I get it. We have to do that, but
yeah,
at least one person should be like,
yeah,
I'm just gonna like err on the side of caution, because every time that she tries to explain to them that the aliens wiped out her entire crew in less than 24 hours. And, like, does she tell them that their blood is acid and stuff? Like,
well, yeah, she did, because there was, as soon as it happened, one person turned to her and said, blood for acid.
Okay.
I think that was Paul Reiser, actually.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
But everyone's like, oh, sure, lady.
Yeah.
What are you doing here? Anyway, the crew is like, they do that thing like James Cameron is such an expert at, which is like, here's everybody. You get 3 seconds of them and you're going to know them for the rest of the movie. So there's Vasquez, who's like super edgy and tough. And then there's Bill Paxton's character.
Oh, yeah.
He's Hudson, right? And he's just like a whiny weirdo. And then there's Hicks, who is Michael Biehn, is that right? From Terminator.
Yeah.
He's John...
in one of his iconic roles.
Kyle. What's his name in Terminator? Kyle
Reese. Yeah.
Yeah. And he is hot in this movie. For every inch that Bill Paxton is whiny and hilarious, Michael Biehn is hot.
Hicks is hitting the numbers.
Hicks. So we meet everybody, and she learns that there's an artificial person on this boat who she's like not happy about.
Yeah, because an alien, he went nuts, and
Yeah.
he was basically a tool for the corporation saying, screw you guys. He was the Paul Reiser.
Yeah, exactly. So, but this one seems nice. Bishop seems okay.
Oh yeah, no, and then they do and it's again, there's several characters that they kind of 3 I can think of that they take the initial idea of who we think they're going to be, and then they start to subvert it.
Right.
So there's Paul Reiser, and then there's Bishop. He's the other one. So they're going in opposite directions. We don't trust him. She doesn't trust him, and then he proves throughout just to be a stand-up dude.
Yeah.
You know. And then to a very minor level is the dude in charge.
Yeah, the guy who's in charge of the military ends up being a coward.
Yeah, he just doesn't have any field experience. He's got kind of combat cowardice, but at the very end, he proves just a smidge of courage.
What I love, again, I just love the sergeant guy who's like always barking orders at them because like nothing he says makes any sense. He's like assholes and elbows, and I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah,
what do we do with our assholes? And are we supposed to be doing the thing with our elbows at the same time? I'm not sure.
Yeah. And that character is full on in the Halo series.
Oh, really?
Like as a character called Sarge.
Okay, cool. I would like it then, but I'm not good at that stuff. Right. And I also love futuristic shit that's like worn out and old. It's like we're so far into the future that all of this fancy shit is not shiny. It's gross.
Yeah,
it's old,
there's nothing
taped.
Glamorous about their
Absolutely not.
Their future.
Yep. So they find this place, and they land.
Yeah. So a cool thing of what the story and the narrative is doing is that for the first half hour, we're building up about how much firepower we've got. We've got all these Marines. They've got guns. They've got heavy art. They've got heavy weapons.
They've got like gigantic guns. Like they've got guns that are like they keep showing Vasquez with her giant gun, which is as long as she is tall.
Yeah, there's James Cameron is so good at also like introducing like this cool innovative tech that suddenly becomes like iconic and inspires like everyone else. Like so those giant guns that like Vasquez has, it's mounted on like like a Steadicam where it's mounted on a Steadicam rig. He saw like the Steadicam what it is. It's like, well, why don't we put a gun on that? That would make sense. Like
it'd be great if the Steadicam could kill things.
the whole idea is that it redistributes the weight so you're not carrying it all. Mm-hmm. And then all these other things like the giant like loader exosuit, like the scanner with the motion things, like the body cams that all the stuff has, like that was all super innovative and like blew everyone away.
It's got their vital signs as well as like what their point of view is.
Even the thing with like the counter on the gun, like as soon as I saw that, I started seeing it on all sorts of movies. Like he's so good at just like inventing these things that people haven't seen before in terms of like science and tech and things like that.
So they're exploring. It's really scary because everything is abandoned.
Sorry. But he's building up for like the first half hour of how much firepower they have. They've got they've got their own like drop ship. They've got an APC with like a tank gun on it. They've got all these Marines, and we're building up of all the firepower and resources. Like, don't worry, lady. We know we can take care of this, and then everything. But it's just all suspense and build up, and then everything just goes to shit, and all that firepower
is useless.
Yeah.
Well, and like she says, she's like, "Hey, just real quick, won't they blow up the entire planet if they start shooting at the terraformer?" And all the military people are like, "Oh my god, our bad. You're right. We shouldn't be shooting at the terraformer. We'll blow up the whole planet." So they all have to switch to flamethrowers.
Yeah, because the terraformer is basically like a fusion reactor.
Right.
And when they're in like the engineering compartment, basically they could blow up the
whole world.
Well, not the whole world, just like
The part they're in?
just the important part.
Yes. So, but I will tell you what, like the tension too, it's very much like exactly like the Sarge is like, let's get riled up, everybody. Get ready. Who's this? Are you bad? Are you tough? All right, now settle down. Line up for God's sake. Sit in your seats for damn, let everybody
Sit
get riled
down.
up.
Crisscross
Sit down.
applesauce.
Yeah. Everybody get ready. Now sit for a little bit. Just chill for a little bit. Like that's
Drink
how
your
the movie
juice
works.
box.
Yeah. The movie's like, let's get armed, huge guns, beepy things. And then it's like, and now let's quietly walk through some corridors full of like H.R. Geiger drawings. And it's like slow. So it goes fast, slow. And I do think it's so scary. Just like when you're standing there and there's like a little thing going beep, 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 beep. Mm-hmm. Beep beep, and it's just getting closer and closer and closer to you, but you can't see it. That's scary. That's like
it's like looking back at this movie. It's like there's a couple of like massive, huge action sequences, but it's really only a couple. It's not wall to wall action. It's wall to wall like suspense and tension.
Yeah.
And a lot of like character dialogue. Like there's really only a couple of like tentpole scenes.
Where everybody's shooting all the time.
Yeah, because you can only sustain that for so much, and then the rest is just turning the screws of tension.
Mm-hmm. So in their exploring, they find Newt, a little girl who has obviously survived by scavenging and hiding
and a little nest.
And having a little nest, but little nests all over the place. And just like she runs, she hides, she scurries, she stays out of the way, she stays off their radar. And that's how she's survived. But like that scene where they're like, grab her, get her, don't let her get away. It's like, that to me was very tense. And I'm just like, oh my God, she's got to be scared shitless of you guys. Like she's been by herself for so long. Yeah. But then immediately Ripley bonds with Newt. And like they have that like, I'm going to look out for you. Don't worry about it. Like and Newt saves their asses many times just by knowing where the hidey holes are.
Yeah.
And how to slip away.
So there's
and kind of knowing what the warnings are too. Like Newt will be the one who's like, we should go. Can we go now? Let's get out of here.
So there's a deleted scene that from the beginning of the movie where Ripley is informed that her 11-year-old daughter has now died from old age.
Oh my God.
And so you've got like the mom without a kid now. Mm-hmm. And it seems super important, but I totally get it without the scene that she tries to become her mom.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
I agree. I don't think we need to know that. Like it's sort of the instinct is so clear.
Yeah, I mean ultimately this whole movie is about mom versus mom. Yep. Like in the big fight at the end.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. It's a mom battle.
The lesson of this movie, like the lesson learned is don't fuck with the mama's babies.
Yeah.
Like we will explode all of space. To protect our little babies.
Yeah, that's ultimately what the movie, the final climax of the movie is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the one mom who's mad that you destroyed all her babies and the other one who's trying to protect her.
Yeah, there's literally a showdown of both moms protecting their babies. Mm-hmm. The alien queen and all her eggs, and that she's protective over it. Mm-hmm. And then Sigourney Weaver with Newt.
Yep. There is one part after they find Newt where they're still exploring where the Sarge says, stop your grinning and drop your linen. And again, I was like, what does that mean? What are you instructing me to do? You want me to have a bathroom break? Because that's what it sounds like you're saying. I don't know what you mean. And then they're walking around and it's just like they're clearly inside of a monster. Like it's you can obviously see the direct influence on things like Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Where you go from this like very clean, smooth spaceship into something that has clearly been taken over by a living,
they have
disgusting...
terraforming facility. Yeah.
They're like, oh, you know what? We're going to move in here. I want everything to be more slimy and spiny. I just want there to be spines.
This feels like home now.
Yeah, spines and slime. That's what we like. So like you get more than an hour into the movie before you even see the aliens.
Oh yeah, like literally at 1 hour. You know,
You see the face huggers that they've
yeah,
got.
you see the baby
stored.
alien. Yeah, you see. Well, so like at 1 hour, you see the first like alien. You see like the face huggers before it, but it's like literally at 1 hour, you see like a baby alien, a chest burster, burst out of someone's chest.
Yeah,
and you realize all the colonists are
incubators. Gross! It's so gross. Yeah, and she's alive, and she's like, "Will you please kill me? Hi, it's so good to see you. I've been waiting so long for you. Would you please kill me and my little friend who's about to come bursting out of my chest? That would just be so cool." Yeah, explode, and then everyone's like, "Oh, all that stuff she said, it's true." But I love how James Cameron like is constantly filling the air with smoke.
Yeah.
Like, it's really pretty the way it, like, drifts in through the light and stuff. So you could just get this feeling that, like, the air is always full.
Yeah.
Like, there's no empty
everything.
space.
Yeah. You've got the smoke and you've got, like, the haze that just makes, like, the air look thick. And that's such a time-intensive thing because it's so unpredictable and it changes between takes. Like, it's labor-intensive.
Yeah. And so Paul Rudd... No, I kept saying Paul Rudd. It's not Paul Rudd.
No.
Paul Rudd would never have done these things. Paul Reiser
would,
is like,
however.
We should keep it. You guys, we should keep it.
Guy's great. Okay, spitballing here.
I mean, that's his attitude. He's like, hey, I'm just saying, like you tell me, but, like, maybe we should keep these things. Let's bring it back to where every human lives.
Yeah.
And then also, like, it seems like all of the soldiers are constantly, like, chewing something. Like, Hicks is always chewing gum, and, like, the Sarge is always mashing that, like, gross cigar he's got in his mouth. I don't know. It's just, like, a weird thing that they're all doing. I'm sure
it's
that
the future, man. There's, like, you know.
So, okay. All right. So, they, like you said, we're up to the part where they make a big plan, and she's like, Newt, take a little nappy.
Yeah, so first when they the shit hits the fan, basically they get overwhelmed and they realize there's hundreds, or maybe just 100 of these aliens, the xenomorphs, and they lose half their dudes
because they're coming through the ceiling. And oh my god, that shot where they like poke he pokes his little face up and he's like, oh my god, there's so many of them and they are all coming this way.
Yeah, that's one of those great shots that you remember, because
the xenomorphs look so, I don't know, they're scary. They're not scary, but when they're like crawling, they look so goofy, like, because their heads are so big.
Yeah,
they look really scary when they're just snapping at you, but when they're like trying to do complicated like parkour,
when you see them full body move, it's like in Alien, they were so disguised by the shadow.
Yeah,
you know,
seeing more of them makes them, to me, less scary. I don't know. Okay, so everybody's dead. We're gonna try and get out of here. It is really scary when Newt and Ripley are trying to avoid the face huggers.
Oh,
Who are like, just come here, let me give you a hug. I just want to hug your face.
Free hugs.
Oh, it's scary. It really is. Like, because isn't that like just a deep human thing to like protect your face?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not only is it trying to ram something down your throat, but it's got a tail that's going around your throat. So it's trying to put something in your mouth, but it's also choking you
so
too,
that you'll gasp. Yeah, it's like it's a smart scary thing. But like, yeah, so smart and strategic of Paul Rudd to be like, oh yeah. Oh, I don't know, like who turned that off? I don't know. Who locked that door? I don't know. Who turned off their monitor? I'm not sure. And then Ripley is also way smarter than that, and she's like, oh, no one can hear me? Let's set the fire alarm off.
Oh yeah, that's great. That's like a total classic, like James Cameron move of of just knowing the technology and not going with these traditional movie tropes. You know, it's just like, oh, it's simple. You know, there's fire extinguishers, or you know, there's the water things. Use that. Use
that, then they'll know.
It's like another great moment of just like not going with the tropes and things like that, and just knowing how things work. Is when she's going through the catacombs, you know, looking for Newt at the end, and she's putting flares throughout her path. just remembering how to get back and how to do that. And it's just such a simple thing that most movies wouldn't do, but it's just like it puts you so in the moment, and it makes so much sense too.
Yeah. It's like executive function, it's like the triage of being a person. Like I need to go rescue, but I also need to get back out.
Yeah. And then having like recently played video games where you're underwater and going through cave systems, it's so easy to get lost in things.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Okay, so then there's this whole like sort of back and forth, but meanwhile, like Ripley and Hicks have sort of like at some point formed some sort of like unspoken just chemical alliance where they're like both sort of got the hots for each other, and I'm here for it. But also like Hicks is on her side and she's on his side, and she's like, oh, maybe Paul Rudd. It's not Paul Rudd, Chrissy. It's not Paul Rudd. Paul Reiser, she's like, maybe Paul Reiser is a manipulative dick who's trying to get us all killed so we can have the alien babies. And he's like, what? Maybe she's crazy, you guys. Let's not listen to this gross woman. But they all take her side, and they get attacked again. And Paul Reiser gets like killed in that. Like in that attack, right?
Yeah, I had forgotten how he got in it, but yeah. So they already had the big wipeout. So their dropship is gone, their tank is broken, they've lost half their dudes.
We had the game over.
Yeah, they're out of. They only got a few rounds of ammo. They're waiting for the backup dropship to come in. That Bishop is crawling through that pipe.
Oh my God, Bishop is crawling through the tiniest pipe in like
That's
a
so,
Shawshank Redemption moment. That is the scariest part of the whole thing.
It's so fantastic because it totally illustrates like how he is a synthetic, and he doesn't blink an eye at it, and he just crawls down this like 300-yard pipe.
Well, he's pushing like a little box in front of him. He's like, push the little box, crawl 2 inches, push the little box, crawl 2 inches. Gotta save my friends. Let's keep going. But like Vasquez and her friend Vasquez explodes with the captain. They get overwhelmed by aliens.
So whoever is left, kind of like they have kind of like a zombie survival moment where they're counting all their bullets and what guns they've gotten. It's not much. And so even that small band of survivors is now being picked off to where it's just a couple of, it's just so most everyone is just wiped out. Hicks, Bishop,
Ripley and Newt. So Newt gets taken, and Ripley is basically like, she's alive. They don't kill you. They keep you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go get her. And like Hicks is like, yeah, sure. And Bishop's like, well, we probably shouldn't. We probably should just go. But so she does some really cool gun crafting where she's just like taping guns to other guns.
Yeah, she tapes 2 guns together.
And with a flamethrower. And yeah, she's like, you're not going to take my kid. I'm going to go get my kid. And like that part's really tense and scary. But of course she rescues Newt. And then it's just like the worst Easter hunt ever. Because she comes into that room that's full of those eggs.
It's a great reveal because it's like, dudes, where are these eggs coming from? Like, what is creating these eggs? And they do this, they pan across all the eggs, and then you see an egg being laid, and then they pan up. They're slowly just going and revealing, and
it's so gross.
Yeah.
And it's so gross when the mama alien, like the big boss alien, is also like, hey, stop it. Those are my babies, and I'm proud of each and every one. Don't you dare. She just rips her like egg portion off of her body.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah.
Super ew. That's gross. Oh, and here's my question too. So if the alien's blood is acid, why isn't the goo, right? Because there's a lot of goo. So why wouldn't the goo
be acidic?
Be also acidic?
I don't know.
Or at least mildly irritating.
Right. I mean, basically the goo is saliva. And then
but if their blood is acid, then their saliva should be acid too. I think, like at least like a low level acid that you'd use for like a chemical peel.
Right. Well, it's kind of like our blood has a lot of iron in it, and our saliva doesn't. So it's a different fluid.
I guess
we've got a lot of different fluid options ourselves.
There's a lot of goo. There's a lot of fluids, but I just thought they should at least be like make you itchy. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe everyone is having an allergic reaction, but that got cut.
Yeah. Yeah, but, like
I don't know,
really.
there's some mild irritation going on here.
But would you like? Come on, would you?
I think we should.
I'm willing to. I would be willing to buy that the
Right.
company is not just weapons and bioweapons, but also beauty products,
Yeah.
and they are looking for a nice exfoliant. They're always in the market.
I can't
for,
believe they cut that scene.
Yeah, I know. I would have kept it. It would have made it
Yeah.
more relatable to me.
Yeah.
The scene where he's like, no, we got to test it out. Like, this is making people look years longer. Ripley, you can't be the only 85-year-old who looks hot in panties and a tank top. We got to share this technology with the world. Anyway, so they're like, gonna die. And then Bishop shows up to save them.
Yeah.
Hicks is like having a nap.
Yeah. Well, Hicks got a bunch of acid sprayed on him.
Yeah.
So he's not doing great.
He's not doing great.
He's out of commission.
But Bishop comes, of course, Ripley fights Big Mama Alien
Yeah.
in the exo suit, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And then, James Cameron, I guess, liked it so much that he decided to do it in almost every movie since then, right? Uh-huh. He's like, you know what really worked?
It just
Let's
makes
do a
so
big
much
exo
sense.
suit again. Really, again? I mean, it's what the people come for.
I mean, honestly, if I could get away with it, I'd do it for sure.
Yeah. And then, so, we have that moment of, get away from her, you bitch. Yeah, I love it. I do always get lightly annoyed when you're blowing something out of the airlock and not everybody gets sucked into space or, dies of suffocation. But we blow the alien out of the space lock, right? Mm-hmm. And we win.
Yeah, it's
Let's go
interesting
home.
because at least at the very ending moment, it's just kind of a fade away. It's not kind of there's not some line of dialogue that ends the movie or some normal transition. It's just kind of the bad guy's dead. Mm-hmm. All right, we're gonna go to sleep, and then the music slowly begins and the credits come up.
Let's get cozy.
It's a very kind of gradual fade off kind of ending.
Yeah, because everybody gets to go to sleep. This mommy wins, that mommy loses.
Yeah, it's not a kind of a pump you up ending. It's kind of
Well, here we go.
Yeah.
Let's spend another 60 years maybe banging around in space. Yeah, I mean, it's a good movie. It's scary. It's suspenseful. It's action-packed. It's
Yeah.
meaningful. I have very few complaints.
Yeah, if you're into action screenwriting or filmmaking, this is a great case study. Just in terms of building tension, upping the stakes, revealing, turning and revealing characters, and then just in terms of the ultimate edit, just very lean and efficient,
And 2 hours and 15 minutes, though, still. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's great screenwriting, I think.
It is. And it's also just so visually dynamic. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's great at character introduction, all that stuff. And I just love the message that moms just need to stop shaming other moms. You know what? There's no wrong way to parent. There's no one way to raise your horde of alien babies. Mm-hmm. We all just need to cut some slack for each other for crying out loud, And that's worth remembering.
I think
every
so.
once in a while.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So, I can't even remember. Do we do our ratings first, or we do our recommendations?
We do our ratings.
Okay.
I think we do our ratings.
All
yeah.
right. So, on a scale of, 1 face hugger to 10 face huggers,
Right. How many would we like to cram down our mouths?
how many would you like to lay eggs in your chest? How many chest eggs?
So I had a really solid experience. Other than haircuts, I don't think that there's anything at all on this that that was dated. So I think this is a super solid 9.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah, this movie absolutely holds up.
Yeah. And then just in terms of 10, I just reserve that for my top movies. So this is.
Yeah, I think this movie is going to be still a classic in another 30 years.
Yeah.
Right? When we actually have terraform planets.
And face huggers.
And facehuggers and xenomorphs. Yeah, I think that's solid. I don't know. I think I would maybe just give it an 8.5.
Okay.
Just because, it's so long. I kind of forgot how long it was. And then I was like, oh, shit, I definitely should have started watching this earlier.
Yeah.
Because I'm tired now. Is that too dorky to admit? Yeah, like, I don't know. You don't think it could have been another half hour shorter?
I didn't have a problem with it. No,
Okay.
not unlike other movies I saw recently.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess there were some parts where just in rewatch, I'm like, I'm sick of her explaining to people that the aliens really are scary.
Yeah, or like there's probably like a good 5 minutes of a supercut that you could do of her trying to convince people of stuff we already know, but they're not believing, and then also Bill Paxton freaking out.
Yeah. Game over, man. Game over. All right. So what is your deep cut recommendation?
So my deep cut recommendation is a YouTube video. So there's a great YouTube channel called Lessons from a Screenplay.
Okay. I love it.
And so this one, and so he does these great kind of video essays every month about different aspects of filmmaking, mainly from the screenwriting point of view. And so there's a great one called Aliens versus Terminator: How to Sequel like James Cameron.
Okay.
And just a great kind of analysis, and they're entertaining. It's not; these aren't dry. They're very visual of like how he made a sequel to Terminator. And how he made a sequel.
That was better than Terminator.
Yeah, and then how he also made a sequel to Alien with aliens. And basically how he took, how each of them have the same goal. Survive the alien, kill the alien, survive the Terminator, kill the Terminator, but then twisted and turned expectations of what was, it's like horror movie to action movie, how the whole mother dynamic of aliens changed everything, and the characters' own motivations within each movie change and grow and adapt.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's my recommendation. Lessons from a Screenplay.
That's really good. That's smart. Yours are always better than mine. Mine are always very, very stupid. Yeah, so like I think that the parallels between this and like Serenity, the Firefly movie, are really obvious because that's about people who go like, ultimately it's about people who go terraform a planet and then get and then just get basically undermined and abandoned by the company,
Right.
who is
Yeah.
subverting them in all these evil, sneaky ways.
Right.
So I think that's obvious, but so that's that's a recommendation, sure. But I bet everybody has seen that, right? So I want to recommend a movie that is not good, and it is a movie called Underwater that stars.
Is this recent?
It is recent.
Yeah,
yes,
with
Kristen Stewart.
Yeah.
It's basically aliens, but instead of being in space, they're underwater.
Okay, I like that.
And instead of xenomorphs, they're like water Cthulhus.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
So how is this bad?
it's so bad.
Oh no!
But it's not. It's not a good movie, but it's a great time.
Like you sold me on it.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah. And it's sort of the same. Like there's a lot of alien. Like you get a lot of. Hey, it's almost like screaming in your face. Like, hey, like we're just like this is just like Alien. She's in her panties and a tank top. She's got a shaved head. What else do you need? But it really it just bangs you right into the action and never lets up. And it was not a good movie, but it was a great time.
So also a great screenwriting lesson.
Yes, of like how you don't need a beginning.
Yeah.
You can just make do with a middle and an end.
Right.
Yeah.
Or how you need a beginning.
Maybe I'd
And
be
this is what
interested if you
happens.
go see it and then you'd be like, yeah, well, maybe a beginning, because that is what it was missing. What it was missing was just like a nice 5 minutes of like, here's what life on this underwater rig is like. Let's meet all of these characters who are so we care whether they live or die.
Yeah.
You don't get that. She's like literally brushing her teeth and then kablooey, we're off to the
Cthulhu's.
races. Yeah. And you only meet the characters as she meets the characters as they're trying to survive. Yeah. So that's my recommendation. Underwater.
All right.
With Kristen Stewart. All right. So where can people find you and support your artistic efforts?
Why thank you, everyone. Squishy Studios on the Facebooks and Twitters. But yeah, the website and YouTube channel is probably your best bet.
And keep your eyes peeled because there will be some opportunities coming up for you to support Nathan and Squishy Studios.
Right.
And
Emotionally,
in their efforts.
Financially.
Physically, you can come just hold him up for a minute.
Right. And how about you?
That'll be one of the,
Right.
you should have that be an Indiegogo thing where it's like, just come, Nathan will lean backwards and you can physically support him for up to 30 seconds. Yeah, like I'm at NCT Phoenix in downtown Mesa every Friday and Saturday. If you want to take improv classes, if you want to see comedy shows, check out nctphoenix.com. It's N for national, C for comedy, T for theater, and Phoenix, all spelled out, .com. Yeah, we're glad to be back. Hey guys, thanks. We're so glad to see you again, and by see you we mean never interact with you directly, but to talk directly into your brain. Like us, read us, review us, leave us a comment. Find us anywhere the social medias are stored. Most Excellent Pod is where you can find us basically everywhere.
Yeah, it sounds self-serving, but the reviews and ratings and things like that actually help people discover the show. Like if they go to iTunes, I don't know where the hell else this podcast is on.
It's everywhere.
Right?
It's everywhere.
But it's those sort of things that actually allow people to discover it, the algorithm, and also if they see that a lot of people have reviewed it, they're going to give it a chance. So.
Well, and also like you can give us your feedback too. Like I got a direct email from a listener who was like, I was yelling at you so much during the Silverado episode, like love you, but I was just yelling at you that you were wrong. And I'm like, but what were we wrong about? And he's like, I don't remember now. And I'm like, okay. So you can just like interact with me directly.
So also please be more specific on how we've
let us know how
fucked
we've
up.
screwed up. Like,
Right.
hey, I'm just here with my hot takes. You don't need to like you tell me what you think. Hit us on the Most Excellent Pod on Instagram. There's a Facebook group, all that stuff. We are reachable. You can shame us any way you like. Shame us or celebrate us. We're here for it. Do we want to
and end podcast?
No, we have to say that like thank you for listening. While you're out there in the world, remember to keep the Most Excellent 80s Movies podcast motto in mind. Be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.
Podcast over, man. Podcast over.
They mostly come out at night. Mostly. Okay, that's it. Yay!
Yay!